Welcome to the required teacher staff attendance training for non-virtual attendance. If you are a virtual teacher, you will receive a separate training addressing the requirements for virtual attendance. We would like to share the why of attendance in this training. First, training all staff on attendance is a yearly audit requirement. Secondly, attendance is a compulsory requirement for students and a job requirement for teachers and staff. Attendance is how school districts receive funding. As a reminder, funding from the state falls into two buckets, the maintenance and operations bucket and a bond bucket. Attendance fills the maintenance and operation bucket, which supports the general operations of the district, including staff salaries. Therefore, it is important that accurate and timely attendance is taken every day. If a student is marked absent, the district receives zero funding for that day. Additionally, the state will require a return of funds if inaccurate or untimely attendance is taken. If a teacher does not take attendance at all, the entire class funding for that day can be returned to TEA. What are the general rules for attendance? TEA requires a funding time, and that funding time falls within a period. Typically, the funding period for elementary school and high school is second period. In middle school, the funding period is generally third period. The next slide will review the actual funding times for this year. However, all teachers and staff must take attendance at this point in time. All attendance must be taken by a certified teacher or professional from the campus. A student is either present or absent. For a student to be marked present, they must be physically present with the teacher in the classroom. If they are not with the teacher, then another certified professional must notify the attendance clerk of the students present at funding time. Examples of this would be if a student was with the nurse, an assistant principal, ISS, or a counselor. These school officials would be required to report the presence of the student to the attendance clerk, otherwise they would remain absent. Another key TEA requirement is that attendance is taken on time. By TEA legal requirements, our system must log when a teacher takes attendance, and if it is not at funding time, it could possibly cause a return of funds. Each of our schools have a funding time. Elementary school funding time is 9 a.m. Middle school funding time is 10:05, and high school and career centers are 10:40. LLC funding time is 10:35. If you are a staff member and teaching night school, please follow the OFSDP rules given by your admin and attendance clerk to record the appropriate minutes for the day. You must take attendance as close as possible to these times on all days. Please do not take any attendance prior to the period starting or after the period has ended. If you make a mistake on a student's attendance or you forget, please notify the attendance clerk either by email or the Google form if your campus chose that option. Remember, accurate attendance is just as important as timely attendance. You will only be allowed to take attendance once during the funding period. All corrections must then go to the attendance clerk. There are other laws that are in place for attendance. These laws surround truancy and loss of credit. Please take attendance for all other non-funding periods as close to the start of the period as possible. Attendance must be taken within the period. Please do not take attendance before the period, as you have not seen the student yet and therefore compromise the integrity of the attendance. Just like in the funding period, the student must be physically present with you to record a present code. During the first 4 days of school, we sort out who is enrolled with us. A student is not considered enrolled until you are physically present at school at funding time. If a student is not marked present at funding time, then the student is not yet enrolled in our district. You must be diligent in ensuring that every student is marked accurately, especially at the funding time end period. This year, there will not be a different procedure for the first 4 days. You will follow the same rules as outlined above. Mark a student present if they are physically with you and absent if they are not. Students are deemed enrolled once they are present one day at the funding time and funding period. You must ensure that the list of students you are marking present are on your attendance list. You must also ensure you account for any extra students in your class that are not officially on your Skyward roster. Look at your roster carefully and reconcile to the students who are physically with you. If you have a student who is not yet on your roster, please notify the attendance clerk immediately. While this is immensely important the first 4 days of school, it is also true for all school year. Lastly, while you may take grades for the first few days of school, please make sure you do not enter them into Skyward until Tuesday, August 18th. There are some system limitations in the no-show process that require us to officially wait on entering grades into the official system. For the rest of the school year, you will use Skyward to record attendance each period. If your campus uses tardies, please follow the directions provided by your attendance clerk or admin. One key item for all campuses is that a tardy can never be recorded during the funding period. Within normal operations of school, special attendance situations arise. Field trips are part of normal operations and happen frequently. The certified professionals on the field trip must take attendance on the day of the field trip. The LISD approved field trip permission slip and list prior to the day is a necessity for other reasons, but not sufficient for the day's attendance. If a student is removed from the field trip prior to the funding time, the field trip certified professional must provide that information to the attendance clerk. Another example of special attendance situations are when a student is with another school official at the school. If the student is in ISS or with a nurse, counselor, or admin, for example, then the classroom teacher would mark them absent, and the other school official is required to tell the attendance clerk that the student was physically present with them. If you know where a student is located, it is always a good idea to let the clerk know. When communicating a special attendance situation, the student ID, name, period, and attendance code should be sent to the attendance clerk. All items are required to make sure that the right coding is assigned to the right student. This year, certain types of large-scale items that affect attendance may be pre-coded. Examples of these scenarios are field trips, testing days, and an OSS placement. If a student is in your classroom but pre-coded to not be there, please email the clerk and let them know that they are in attendance. The attendance will need to be fixed to reflect the student's physical presence in your classroom rather than the secondary assignment. The next few slides show you the process to take attendance. Always remember to hit save after you take the attendance. Otherwise, the attendance will not be official and it will look like you did not take it for the day or that period. This slide is the initial Skyward screen to show you how to get into attendance. Attendance is defaulted to present. You will need to mark the student absent if they are not physically present with you. If you do not like the list option, this slide shows you how to do it by a seating chart. This slide shows you how to mark them absent from the seating chart view. Thank you so much for listening and following the attendance guidelines. We hope that you have a great year.